Nutz About Cars, Storytellers, Cars that Refuse to Die. Chapter 2. The Last Person Who Knew. I went back 3 days later. Not because I was brave, because unanswered questions don't fade on their own. They settle in. They make themselves comfortable. They start rearranging your thoughts when you're not looking. The first night after I found the car, I slept in pieces. Not nightmares, just fragments. Waking up with the sense that I'd forgotten something important, only to realize it was still waiting for me. The second night was worse. That's when the questions started bringing friends. Why that barn? Why that date on the permit? Why leave the keys? By the third morning, the answer was clear. I wasn't done, and pretending otherwise was just another way of lying to myself. I didn't announce that I was going back. I didn't need to. My wife poured coffee like she always did, slid the mug toward me, and studied my face the way only someone who's known you for decades can. "You're going back today," she said. Not a question. I nodded. She didn't argue, didn't warn, didn't try to manage the situation for me. She just watched me a moment longer than usual. "Be careful," she said. Then, after a pause that mattered, "And call me when you leave." That second sentence carried weight. It wasn't about safety. It was about accountability. About remembering I wasn't moving through this story alone, even if I felt like I was. The drive felt shorter this time, even though the distance hadn't changed. That happens when a place stops being hypothetical. Once your mind accepts that something is real, the road to it loses its edges. It becomes familiar too quickly, like it's been waiting for you to claim it. But the feeling inside me was different this time. The first drive had been curiosity. This one was intention. I noticed things I'd missed before. Fence posts replaced just often enough to tell you someone still cared. A stretch of road that looked neglected at a distance, but revealed quiet maintenance up close. A mailbox with no numbers, but fresh paint. This wasn't forgotten land. It was intentionally quiet. I parked in the same spot and shut the engine off. The ticking sound came again, steady and familiar. A sound I've always loved. A car cooling down after being asked to carry you somewhere that mattered. I rested my hand on the roof and stood there longer than I needed to, grounding myself in something solid before stepping back into something unresolved. The barn looked exactly the same. Same doors, same chain, same posture, like it had never noticed me leave. But my body knew before my eyes did. The chain was warm, not hot, not freshly handled, just not cold. That's when I understood something important. This story wasn't paused anymore. Someone else had touched it after I left. Slowly, carefully, I opened the doors. The air inside felt different, not disturbed, just acknowledged, like a room that remembers conversations even after the people leave. The dust still hung in the light, but it moved faster now, as if it had recently been reminded how. The car was still there, covered, exactly as I'd left it. That should have comforted me. Instead, it tightened something in my chest. I checked the ground. No new footprints, no scuffed dirt, no signs of rummaging. Whoever had been here hadn't come for the car. They'd come to check on it. I walked around it slowly, deliberately, letting my eyes catch what my excitement had missed the first time. The tires were old, but not flat. Someone had cared enough to keep air in them at some point. Not recently, but not decades ago either. The floor beneath the engine was clean, no stains, no evidence of a failure that would have forced the car to stop here. This wasn't a breakdown. This was a decision. I pulled the tarp back again and opened the driver's door. The smell returned immediately. Old vinyl. Dust. Time. A faint echo of gasoline long evaporated but not forgotten. I sat in the driver's seat. That felt like crossing a line I hadn't been ready to cross before. The seat held me the way seats do when they've learned a body. Not tight. not loose, just shaped. I rested my hands on the steering wheel. That's when it hit me harder than I expected. This wasn't about owning the car. This was about understanding why someone stopped using it. I studied the dash again, the gauges, the wear, the little imperfections that only come from repetition. This car had a routine once, a life. I opened the glove box and pulled the permit out carefully. I'd stared at the date before. That was the part that didn't fit. This time, I studied the location. It wasn't just non-local, it was specific. Corporate, the kind of place where parking permits come with rules, records, and names attached, which meant this wasn't just a clue. It was a breadcrumb. I slid the permit into my pocket and sat there longer than planned. That's when I heard footsteps, not gravel. Grass. Slow. Measured. Unhurried. I stepped out of the car and turned toward the sound. He stood just inside the doorway, framed by light. Late 60s, maybe early 70s. Baseball cap worn thin. Work jacket faded from use, not neglect. Hands relaxed at his sides. He looked at me, then at the car, then back at me. "You found it," he said. Not accusing, not surprised, just stating a fact. "I did," I said. He nodded once. "You weren't supposed to," he added. There it was. "I wasn't looking for trouble," I said. That made him smile, just a little. Neither was he. We stood there in silence. "You know whose car this is," I said. He walked past me and rested his hand on the tarp. "I was wondering how long it would take," he said. "For what?" I asked. "For someone to care enough to ask." He told me his name. I won't say it here. Names matter. "I didn't park it," he said. "But I helped keep it hidden." "Why?" I asked. "Because sometimes," he said, "the safest place for something is where people assume it doesn't matter." He told me the story. The car belonged to a man who worked at the plant, drove it every day, loved it quietly. Then came the illness, treatments, a shrinking timeline. The car got parked, just for now, just until things settled. But they never did. The man passed. The car became a problem. Family didn't want it, didn't understand it. So the last person who knew its value made a choice. He hid it, not to keep it forever, but to keep it safe. "That someone wasn't supposed to be you," he said. "I believe that," I said. "But you came anyway." "I'm not here to take it," I said. "That's good," he replied. "Because you're not ready." "What happens now?" I asked. He pulled a second key from his pocket. "I was told," he said, "that when the right person showed up, I'd know." He held it out, but didn't let go. "I'm still deciding," he said. We closed the barn together, left the car exactly where it was. But the story had shifted, because now it wasn't just about discovery. It was about responsibility. That night, my wife listened without interrupting. "So," she said, "you didn't bring a car home?" "No," she smiled. "Good," she said. "That means this isn't over yet." She was right. Part 2 wasn't about the car. It was about the people who carried it forward. And Part 3 is where I had to decide what kind of man I wanted to be next.